Here's the question funnel. And this is a practical tool that you can all use. The question funnel, at the top end of the question funnel are the 3 workhorse questions. There are 3. Number 1, what? Number 2, why? And number 3, how? Now, why are these questions different from any other questions? And they're the same 3 workhorse questions in any language, by the way. It doesn't matter. So we all have the words what, why, and how in every language. The reason that these questions are different is because when you ask a question that is a what or a why or a how question, you are transferring the maximum amount of critical thinking. Now, you have to think about this, right? So if I ask you a question that begins with what, it's not easy to answer that question. You have to engage in critical thinking, formulate a response, and then respond to me. Same thing with why. If I ask you a why question, I'm transferring a massive amount of critical thinking responsibility. And then third, how. Again, I'm transferring that critical thinking responsibility to you. So one of the ways that we are able to heal emotionally bruised learners is provide the safety around them, the conditions of psychological safety, and then engage in workhorse questions. Now, the other questions are fine too, right? Then we go down to the next level and we have closed-ended questions that begin with who, when, what, which, and where. That's fine. Those are great questions and they have their place and they're very important. And then we can go down to closed-ended yes, no questions. These are binary questions that we can answer with a simple response. But if we stay higher in the funnel, we transfer more critical thinking responsibility to the person or persons with whom we are talking. So I want you to keep that in mind. Stay higher in the funnel, use more workhorse questions, transfer more critical thinking responsibility. But then when you do it, you've got to provide the psychological safety for the response. If you ask the questions, but then the psychological safety is not there, the people will not engage. They will not engage. So we create the conditions and then we ask the workhorse questions. Does that make sense? All right. So this question funnel, it's really quite interesting because the best leaders, teachers, coaches, mentors that I'm ever around are those that use the question funnel with incredible skill, and they stay high so that they can remain at the ask end of the coaching continuum. So think about this. If you stay at the tell end of the coaching continuum, if you're telling, if you're chronically telling, so I want you to use the chat box for this question. What are the consequences of tell? As a leader, coach, mentor, teacher, what are the consequences if you're chronically at the tail end of the coaching continuum? What happens? Junior, maybe help us out here. Can't keep up with these.
You create a yes man culture. I love that. Become reliant, no response, no new ideas, take away independent thought. People feel weak. These are all great. No feedback to gauge understanding, no learning, no new ideas. It's funny, look at all these consequences, yet we do it all the time.
We do it all the time.
Check our ideas, emotionally disengaged, no creativity and innovation. You definitely wouldn't want an organization or a team with all of these consequences.
Incredible.
Right? Turnover, so true.
Now, here's the great irony of this. The prevailing coaching model across cultures, across nationalities, across demographics, across languages, the prevailing coaching model that we have had over the centuries is a tell model. It's a didactic, paternalistic model where we tell. And yet the negative consequences of a tell model are profound. I personally grew up as an athlete, played college football, and I was deeply socialized in a tell model where I would listen and there would be this didactic telling coming at me all of the time. And I would just listen and nod my head and comply. What does that do for the development of people? It retards the development. It hinders the development. It decelerates the development of human beings. Now, is there a place for tell? Sure there is. Sure there is. But we don't use it as skillfully as we should. And the bias needs to be that we shift to the ask end of the coaching continuum. So hopefully that's helpful to you and you can see opportunities to shift yourself to the ask end of the coaching continuum and use workforce questions.